Hey friends, just wanted to do a short video, maybe not too short, but a video about my new little Solomon Island ground boas. For those that don't know, Solomon Island is in the Pacific, and so these snakes are exclusively from there. Almost exclusively all in the hobby are going to be wild caught. They give live birth, and these are neonates, meaning they're just a few days, less than a week old, and have not had their first meal even yet. They had so many of them at the Repticon in Atlanta yesterday. They had them really well priced. And these two, even though they might look alike, are patterned differently, and I noticed that right away. They were packaged, for lack of a better word, together in this cup, and they've been in there since bringing them home yesterday. If they were still at Repticon, they would have stayed in a cooler to keep them warm during the night, she told us, and they would go back out on the table all day today. So they would still be at Repticon or on their way back to, I think they're from Texas is where she's from, but at any rate, they would still be having a busy time and lots of activity and stimulation. So as it is, I brought them home and kept them warm last night and today, and just actually this evening set up this semi-temporary habitat for them. A couple of things about them: they like high humidity. It's recommended, well, you have to keep a large bowl, at least something big enough for them to soak in. And this is a huge bowl. It's actually one of my cat dishes I don't use anymore to feed the cats, but serves the purpose. There's about half to 3/4 inch of water in there. I'm going to be adding some endlers, and they will be culls, deformed endlers, not just for color. I don't do that, so they'll be little fish that can't swim right or something like that, and they'll be in there. These guys, their first meal, the big issue with these and why you don't see them in the hobbies as much as ball pythons, king snakes, milk snakes, that kind of stuff, corn snakes, is because they are pretty fragile when they're neonates, and getting them to eat can be an issue. In the wild, they would start out with tiny frogs or small lizards, that kind of stuff, even as small as they are. These guys are about the size of night crawlers, if that. I love the shape of their little faces and their little snouts, and they almost give you a venomous look to their head, but they're not. They're non-venomous. And as I said, they're live bearing, and they have 50 or 60 babies each time. So if you have one and it breeds, you've got lots of them. But at any rate, back to the feeding, getting them to eat the first meal, about half of them, several reliable sources I looked at said, sorry, I'm shaking. Let me try to brace up. That might be better. Said that maybe 50% of them will take pinky mice, and they are pretty tiny, but I don't doubt that they could get a pinky in there. So I'm gonna lay a couple of pinkies in here. You don't really even have to thaw those guys. Just lay them there, and they'll thaw in just a few minutes, and see what happens with them. And I'm also gonna put some culls, some deformed little fish, guppies, endlers, whatever, in that water. The water is dechlorinated. I let it set. Actually, I boiled it and then let it set overnight as well, so it doesn't have anything in it. I didn't want to use any primer or anything with them going in the water. They usually mate in the water, or they usually defecate in the water, so it's going to be some water changing for these guys. So they're semi-aquatic, and they do live on an island. What else? There is a Solomon Island tree boa, completely different species from these guys. When these guys are adults, The females will be smaller than the males, and I think I just got that wrong. The males will be smaller than the females, and they'll be 2 to 3 feet. The females will be 3 to 4, maybe even 5 feet. There are some big females with hobbyists, and their colors can range from orange to pink to light red, dark red. Their bellies, so they'll go through different, when they're shedding and growing, they'll go through different color morphs and pattern changes. The undersides of these snakes, even though the colors are brilliant on the top, on the dorsal side, but their ventral side are just incredible. So that's another part of the allure. As far as, I'm gonna wind this up, we're at 6 minutes. As far as handleability, it depends largely on starting them out, as small snakes like this and gaining trust.